Yes, I'm still here, Hollywood. Coming up on today's episode, some performers find success in a single era. Others build careers that span generations. Today's guest first captured attention with a presence that was impossible to ignore, moving seamlessly from Broadway to television and film at a time when versatility truly defined a performer. Over the years, she became part of projects that audiences did not just watch, they remembered. This is Still Here Hollywood. I'm Steve Kmetko. Join me with today's guest from Maude, actor Adrienne Barbeau. Adrienne, thanks for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm honored that you asked me.
Oh, I'm looking forward to talking with you. When you stop and consider the full arc of your career, what has surprised you most about the life acting has given you? Well, it wasn't just given, you earned it.
You know, it's a cliched phrase, but I don't feel like I've ever worked a day in my life. It has, even in the worst of conditions, even having to use a segment of Pravda as toilet paper and go out into the woods of Russia when I was filming some horror film there. It's always been a joy. And so it's certainly given me that. And then the other thing that all I ever wanted to do was be able to support myself and then eventually my family as an actor, and I've been able to do that, and that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it is pretty remarkable.
You know?
And such a fickle business.
Yes.
What can be a fickle
Yes.
business. You began in theater before television. As a matter of fact, I just happened to catch you on a podcast this week talking about being in Fiddler on the Roof with Bette Midler.
Yes.
You
yeah.
were both sisters in that.
We were. Bette played Zeitel, the older sister, and I was the middle sister. I really started on stage. My first paying job was 1963. I had just graduated high school, and I went overseas and entertained the armed forces with a musical comedy review that was originated in San Jose, California, the community theater there, and did 3 months. Korea, right on the DMZ, Japan, Okinawa, Taiwan, an atomic testing center, and that got $7 a day. And that was my first, my first professional job was summer stock in Augusta, Michigan. And then after about 3 years of trying and doing things outside of New York, I got cast in Fiddler. And that was fantastic.
Yeah, what was that like? Was Zero Mostel still?
No, Zero had left. The show opened in 64, and I didn't go in until 68.
Oh.
Bette was doing it. Bea Arthur had left. She left very early on. Florence Stanley was doing her role. Maria Kornilova was still doing Golda, Mama. She was the original. But Zero had left, and it was Paul Lipson. No, I'm sorry, Paul was later. It was Harry Gause. And I did that for 2.5 years.
It was quite a musical.
Yes.
Very successful and is staged over and over to this day.
Yes. I've done. Actually, I played I played Huddle when I was in my early 20s. I have since played Golda, and then I played Huddle a couple more times. But I've since played Golda several times. And now I'm working on Yenta, because she's ageless, or else Grandma Zeitel. We'll see if anybody wants to come along and do that.
Did the discipline of theater give you an advantage early on when you went into other mediums?
It gave me an advantage, I think, throughout my career in that it taught me professionalism, and it taught me to really appreciate everybody on a set or, backstage or whatever. The disadvantage was when time came to do television, I hadn't a clue about the difference in the mediums. I had been doing Grease on Broadway, and I was cast to play Bea Arthur's daughter in Maude. I never even watched television because I was always working at night on stage. And it took me a while to understand the difference in the size that you need to do and, just make those changes. The first filmed movie I ever did, I had only done stage and tape. Maude was taped, and all of the other things that I did at that time were taped. And then I was hired to do a feature or a television film with Paul Michael Glaser called Houdini. And
I remember that.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
With Vivian Vance and Sally Struthers? And we shot The Master, and I headed off to my dressing room to change clothes. I didn't know about close-ups or over-the-shoulders. I didn't know about coverage. I'd never done that medium. So stage helped in many, many ways, but it was a learning process going from one to another.
On-the-job training.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
When fame arrived, did it feel earned? Or was it sudden?
You caught me with when fame arrived because, it would be, facetious of me to say I don't feel famous. I don't know that I ever have. When
Really?
in the last I don't know how many years, when people have started saying, "Oh, she's an icon in the horror genre and everything," I was like, "What is?" So, there was never any moment where all of a sudden I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is." It's hard to talk about, but no, I don't. No, if it came on at all, it came on very gradually, and just in the last years when I've been seeing this word attached to my name in terms of horror, I can sort of step out of myself. But now, I'm surrounded. I have 2 28-year-old sons. They're going to be 29, and both have girlfriends. And so I'm surrounded by 28-year-olds, 29-year-olds. They don't know who I am. They don't know any of that stuff, So it's not always coming at me.
Right. What about success? What if I changed the word to success rather than fame?
And the question was, when success came...
Did success change how you see yourself or saw yourself?
No, I don't think so, because I have always seen myself as an actor who wants to work. And, there are still periods, where I'm still, in between jobs. And so, yes, I would say I'm successful in that I have never had to take a day job, although since 2014, I think I have been recording for the blind. I've been doing video captioning, they call it, narration for the blind.
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite TV series, your favorite movies, a lot of horror films, Nova, things like that. I describe what's going on screen in between the dialogue. And so that's something I can always go back to when I get a job or I've got to go out of town or I'm filming or something. Then, my producer says, okay, we'll get somebody else to do your job. But I think success for me has been, I've been able to do it and I'm still doing it. And yeah, that's the best way I can describe it.
That's okay. I understand that. Do you like being visible?
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I'm not, well, that's ridiculous to say too. I am sometimes, I am, if I go to an autograph signing convention or something, then I'm very visible. But I'm not. I spent some time with Burt Reynolds back in the 70s. And I remember we were on location, and he was filming, and I was staying in his house. And in the middle of the night, two women walked into the kitchen looking for him. And I began to realize this is what, I mean, where he had to have people around him at all times getting him out this. Nobody bothers me. So it's nice to have somebody say, oh, depends on their age. You're the girl from The Fog, or you're the girl from Maude, or I saw you in Fiddler, or I saw you in Grease, or whatever. But it's never intruded on me.
It must happen more frequently at the signing shows, the autograph shows.
Oh, definitely.
Do you enjoy those?
I do enjoy them. I do for several reasons. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy learning their stories. But, and of course, it's always nice to, have money because you're selling your autographs. But it's very gratifying because I'm hearing things that would never have crossed my mind about how something that I've done, not me, but the character or the project, has impacted someone. One of the first times it happened, a young fellow came up to me, I think I was in Massachusetts, and he said, I used to watch Maude, and it's the only way I learned that a family could yell and scream at each other and still love each other. He said, we didn't have that in my house. We just had the yelling and screaming. And I was like, and it had really had an effect on him. And then I've had other people come up, young girls who were, Catwoman was how they learned. Well, Carol on Maude, many women come up and say, she was one of the first independent, strong, aside from
opinionated, yes.
Opinionated. And that's affected people. I had a fellow tell me that, and I don't even remember the name of the character, came up and said, you played, I don't know, Mrs. So-and-so on the Wayans Brothers. It was just a one-shot guest star thing. And I said, yeah, I did. And he said, you saved my life. What? He had been in a very bad auto accident. They told him he wasn't going to make it. He was a big fan of the Wayans Brothers. It was going to be on at 2:00 that afternoon. And he said, I'm going to stay alive, basically, is what he was saying to himself. And because I want to watch this show, and then it made me laugh, and your segment made me laugh, and I was able to get through it, and here I am now. And it's like, those are the kinds of stories we all hear at the conventions. And, that's
great.
Remarkable.
It is.
Yeah.
Bea Arthur commanded the screen in a very distinctive way. What did you learn simply from watching her work up close?
I think just by osmosis, just by being there with her and watching her every day, that I learned timing. I learned comedy timing. Maybe I had it before. I've been doing musical comedies and all of that. But nobody had timing like Bea. Maybe Lucy, but... so I'm sure I learned that. We all came from the theater, and so there was already a professionalism that we all brought to our work. But Bea she was the ultimate professional, but she was so giving, and so all that was important to her was the quality of the show, not whether or not she was the star or whether she got these lines or anything like that. She was very welcoming on the set. I learned how to be, and if I have ever been a star, I mean, she was the one to learn how to be a star from, because she was down to earth. It was just about the work.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about when you think back on those days of doing Maude? What comes to mind? What's the emotion you feel?
It was like going to hang out with my family every day. It was wonderful. Depending upon the time, my original emotions when we first started were, nervous and insecure and things like that. And then as I got more comfortable, it was just a joyful thing. If someone says to me, what's the most favorite job you've ever had? It wasn't Maude, primarily because Carol was sort of the straight person,
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, I loved that she introduced me to the world of activism and, fighting for what I believed in and understanding what I believed in. But she was sort of straight, and I've done other things that were more interesting for me, I think. But it was a joy to go to work every day.
Was it one of those places, I would imagine it would be with Bea Arthur, where show up, hit your marks, know your lines?
Yes.
It was that kind of an atmosphere?
Well, but not in a harsh way in any way.
Right.
It was just
do your job.
This is what we're here to do. She didn't. I only remember one time when somebody had been cast and she didn't suffer fools, but we just did it.
We'll be back for more in a moment. If you'd like to be more involved with us at Still Here Hollywood, you definitely can. Just visit patreon.com/stillherehollywood. You can support us for as little as $3 a month. You can get our episodes a day before they post anywhere else. You can see what guests will be coming up and submit questions for them. You can even tell us what stars you want us to have on as guests. You'll see what goes on before and after the episode, plus exclusive behind-the-scenes info, pics, video, and more. Again, that's patreon.com/stillherehollywood. Did you sense you were stepping into a show that was actively pushing cultural boundaries when you got into it?
I knew nothing. I didn't even know about All in the Family, which was the other show that Norman had on the air at the time. I remember, I was doing Grease, but I had dinner with friends from Fiddler. And I said, maybe I was just going to go meet Norman for an initial audition. And one of them said, "Oh my God, have you seen this show that he's got on the air? It's really fun and it's unique and it's, deals with racism and I thought, oh, okay, but I had never seen it. And
it was groundbreaking.
It was groundbreaking, as was Maude, certainly Archie was, you go back and look at those now and you think, oh my God. Well, even to look at Maude now, how far back we've gone in some ways.
Yes, in some ways.
But didn't know going in. In fact, I rented an apartment month to month because who knew if we were going to even be on the air. It was, and I didn't know anything about television. So I don't know when we knew that we were successful. It must have been, maybe right after we aired. I don't know. I don't have a recollection of that.
Every show has kind of an off-camera rhythm. Can you explain what the emotional temperature was on that set when you weren't rolling?
We had fun. Bill was, as Bea has said, he was nuts. He was just very funny, and Conrad's sense of humor was just wonderful. I think we just had fun. I don't remember ever. Once we found our footing in terms of our director, because when we first started, we had a director who'd never done television, and that first week, was about 90 hours.
Wow.
And then we went through a couple of other directors. One, I think, sort of got let go midweek. And then Hal Cooper came in. And Hal understood, and we trusted him. And from then on, it was just, I don't remember ever having any kinds of problems. The most difficult part was we did the show like a stage play. We rehearsed for 4.5 days, and then we put it on its feet in front of an audience, straight through like a stage play. We took a dinner break. The writers went off. They rewrote. If this joke didn't work, if so-and-so should say this joke instead of so-and-so, if we were 2 minutes long because the audience had laughed, they had to cut something out, rewrite while we're eating, and then hand us the new script. And fortunately, I mean, especially for Bea, because it was it was on her shoulders, she had a photographic memory. Eidetic memory, I think is the word.
Who did, Bea?
Bea did, yes.
Oh.
So she had it down pat. The rest of us, well, we got it. And we did the second show with all kinds of changes. And then if there were pickups, if we had missed something completely or something didn't work, then we would do pickups after that.
Was it shot here in Hollywood?
Yeah, we started at CBS
At Television City?
City, yes, the first year. And then we went to, I don't know if it was KTLA or KTTV. It was on
Sunset.
and Van Ness.
Yeah.
Yes. All I remember is we didn't have a cafeteria any longer. So they had to bring in food to our little rehearsal studio. And there was no place around there to go to eat. You know, it wasn't like CBS Television City.
Which had a very nice commissary.
Yes. And all of the other stages where we could go and, watch The Price is Right being filmed or The Young and the Restless. And,
Was there a moment on set when you realized I am learning something here that will stay with me for the rest of my life?
not a specific moment.
No?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, no, that's not necessarily true. Not to the. There was a moment when I learned something, and everything sort of fell into place. When I first started the show, I was very nervous. I didn't think, I thought everybody else was more talented than me, certainly more than I, certainly more experienced. Norman kept saying to me, Adrienne, just trust yourself. If you don't trust yourself, trust me, because I know you're good and I want you here. But it wasn't until, I think maybe it was the 4th or 5th episode, that we did a telethon where we were singing and dancing. Suddenly, I was back doing a musical comedy, and I sort of relaxed, and then I thought, oh, okay, this is who she is. This is Carol. Now I know what to do, rather than try and create something that wasn't me. Because I discovered finally, I began to understand that they'd hired me because they saw something in me that could go up against Bea and work that way. We didn't have the same approach to comedy. And I loved her dearly, so that came
Did you?
across. Yeah. And I think she loved me. I mean, I think, we really cared about each other.
You tackled some really controversial subjects on that show. I believe Bea had an abortion.
She, at the end of the second episode, I think she had made her mind up. She didn't have it during the show. It was a 2-parter.
Right.
We shot the first part in the first part of the season before the show aired. And they told us that it would not be until the show aired and we knew what our ratings were. If the ratings were good, then they would shoot the second part. If the ratings were not good, I don't know if they were going to get rid of the one that we had done or just air it and let it, go up in the air or end on a up in the air note. But we premiered and the ratings were good and we shot the second episode.
How was it working with Rue?
I loved Rue. We all had a great time together, you know.
Well, when you think back on it, it was such a wonderful cast.
It was. It really was. Conrad was one of the funniest men, and he was sort of like my father. I mean, when I bought my first house, I walked in, I looked at the house, I made an offer a half hour later. I never saw it again until escrow closed. And then I walked in and I called Conrad and I said, could you please come over and tell me if I've made a terrible mistake? You know, he told me to buy a diesel Mercedes. You know, I bought a diesel Mercedes. And then years later, when I had my twins, Conrad was an identical twin. And so first phone call I made when I found out I was having identical twins was to Conrad. Can you tell me what I have to do here? And but all of us, Rue they were really funny together. She and Bea loved each other. We just had a good time.
And I forget the name of the housekeeper.
Our
Hermione
original
Badley?
Hermione was fantastic. Originally, it was Esther Roll,
right,
who went on to do Good Times, and then I think Hermione came in next. We had one other actress who was there for a while, maybe just for 1 or 2 episodes, and then Hermione came in, and Hermione was a character of all time.
Yeah, she was a character.
She was.
She had a sister who was also an actress.
Yes.
Actor.
Yes.
Who was in Mary Poppins.
Oh, was she in Mary Poppins?
Yes, I believe so.
And one of them was in A Taste of Honey, which I, college, went to see A Taste of Honey, and I still remembered that. But she was a character.
Did Maude change your understanding of what television could accomplish?
It probably gave rise to my understanding of what it could accomplish, because having not watched it up until then, I wasn't even thinking about what television could accomplish. But yes, I mean, it's a powerful medium. Unfortunately, it's not always used
properly
for the things that I agree with.
Yeah. Horror icon.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, just as we were finishing Maude, I did a lot of TV movies and guest stars and everything throughout the 6 years we were on Maude. But just as we were finishing Maude, I was offered a television film with Lauren Hutton and David Burney called Someone's Watching Me, directed by a young, up-and-coming feature director, primarily, John Carpenter. And I actually, in that film, played the first gay woman on screen, I believe. And John and I met and ended up romantically involved. And he wrote a screenplay. It's looked at as a ghost story, really, a horror story, ghost story, and asked me to read it because he wanted me to play the part. And I had never seen horror. I'd never seen Psycho. I didn't like that kind of stuff. And I read it and I thought, but it's not socially significant, This was in the time of Coming Home and the China Syndrome and all of these movies that were about something, And this was a ghost story, but the character was wonderful, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. And that was The Fog. The Fog was successful, and because I was identified with that movie, and also by that time John and I were married, and so then I was identified with, a master of horror. I think that's sort of what started it. Then Wes Craven asked me to do Swamp Thing, which isn't really I guess it is a horror film. It's Beauty and the Beast, basically. George Romero asked me to do Creepshow. I almost turned that one down because I didn't know who George Romero was. And I'm married to John, and he's saying, are you kidding me? You're going to turn down an opportunity to work with the master of horror? And I read the screenplay. Stephen King wrote it. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to do this. This is gross. This is vile. I mean, this is, blah, 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 blah. And Tommy Atkins had been cast as the father in the interstitials. Creepshow is 5, it's an anthology series. Leslie Nielsen, Ed Harris, Carrie Nye, I think. Some wonderful people. Stephen King did one of the shows. Oh, and E.G. Marshall. But I was, And I called Tom and I said, Tommy, you're going to do this movie? And he said, Adie, you don't get it. It's going to be a stylized comic book. You've got to do it. It's, So I did it.
It'll be good for you.
Yeah. With Hal Holbrook and Fritz Weaver. And it's one of the things I'm known for. But that was a horror film. So that, from then on, it was, this one and that one, and a lot of low-budget ones that God forbid anybody should see. But
when did you first realize those performances had such a lasting impact?
It wasn't until, I would say, in the early 2000s when the convention, whatever you call it, started.
The Comic-Cons and the like.
Yes, the horror conventions is really what, they started small. So that was the beginning, but those films all, I don't know if they had a resurgence or they just always kept on going for all those years. But now, I mean, I have people come up and, I've had people come up and say, I watch. There was one fellow who had the fog somehow set up so that he could fall asleep to it every night and then it would shut off. And that's what he used for his alarm. But people come up and say, we watch Creepshow once a month. We watch, and Halloween, of course, it's a whole industry in and of itself that has staying power unlike, do you remember any of the dramas that you watched 20 years ago?
Some of them.
Some, one or two. But these people watch them over and over and over again and show them to their children. 6-year-olds come up to me and so it's an incredible community to be a part of.
Back with more in a moment. You have something else coming out very soon.
Yes.
What is it?
It is an action thriller horror film, sort of a Thelma and Louise meets The Quiet Place, directed by Tyler Savage. It's called Oddities. It's starring Lovey Simone, who has a series on Netflix right now, a YA series. And Lilimar, who is a big voiceover actress. She was also a Nickelodeon star, 2 young women. And Xander Berkeley from The Walking Dead. And I'm very excited about it because it's really good.
What role do you play?
I play... the Oddities actually started as a short film, a 15-minute short, that we filmed during the pandemic about 2 young people who are trying to rob a woman who has an antique store, a curio shop, and what happens to them, because the woman is not just an antique dealer. The only similarity to the feature is that I play the same woman. I play a woman who now has a 5,000 square foot antique shop in Kentucky. And the 2 girls are on the lam, and they come to my antique shop, and I sort of rescue them from the police and say, come on in, girls, come on in. I've been expecting you. And they come in, and they find out eventually that the reason I have brought them in has nothing to do with saving them. and everything to do with their demise. So that's the most I can tell you.
Okay, without spoiling
it's really
it.
well done.
Is it shot in? Was part of it shot in
yeah,
Kentucky?
we shot it all in. We shot it all in Louisville in the caves. You know those.
I worked in Louisville for a while, so
Okay.
I'm a little familiar with the area.
And you know the caves
Yeah.
where I think some of the big studios store all of their films, their old kinescopes and everything. It was not. I mean, it was like 3 weeks underground in limestone. It had a really bad smell and pitch black and freezing cold, but it works. It really works.
You're also doing the voice of Catwoman, right?
I did the voice of Catwoman in the animated series.
Right, a new Batman animated series.
Yes. Well, we shot it in the 90s. It has had, again, just like the horror films, a huge resurgence. And
Batman will never die.
no, never die. But I find now when I do go to do the autograph shows, people are asking as much for photographs of Catwoman as they are for Escape from New York or Swamp Thing or Cannonball Run or any of those, Yeah. Happy to do that.
Yes. You've collaborated with filmmakers who had very distinct creative voices. What separates a confident director from a truly great one? Can you tell me? Do you know?
Ooh, a confident one from a truly great one. Well, I think a truly great one knows what he wants on screen and knows how to get it, knows how to communicate to get it, knows how to cast. But a lot of it is in the communication, I mean, if you can't express yourself to the actor or get what you need out of the actor because you can't you can't tell him in words that he understands or she understands, that sort of takes it back,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
What did the best directors, how did they challenge you?
Okay. Creepshow. The character in Creepshow is very large. She's very big. I remember doing that scene that I mentioned in Someone's Watching Me, my first my first television film with John Carpenter, and it may have been the scene where I divulged that I'm gay. First day of shooting, did the scene. John came over and he said, "That was great. That was great. Do less." Do less? I mean, I'd only done television and stage, right? Do less. Oh, okay. Do less. Because it's a huge screen and, Now I get on the stage for Creepshow, and Billy is this big. And George Romero just kept saying, "You can go bigger, Adrienne. You can go bigger." And and it came to the point where I thought to myself, you know what? He's the director. That's what he wants. I mean, if I get crucified for, chewing scenery, that's what George wants. And of course, it's one of the great all-time characters that everybody remembers and quotes my line just call me Billy, everyone does, but and I didn't drink. I've never drunk. I didn't know what it was like to be drunk. She's an alcoholic. So I really owe a lot of that to George.
Is there a director who permanently changed how you approach what you do?
Probably John, just with that one sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you learn for yourself that less is more?
I did learn for myself that less is more. and I guess over the years I've learned to just stop acting, just trust. Know the words, know the intent, know how you feel about what you're saying, know how you feel about who you're saying it to, know what just happened, and then just let it go and it'll come out the way it comes out. And sometimes I mean, especially with Oddities, I was like, oh, I would never have thought I would have said it that way, you know. I think in the beginning it was sort of like, okay, this is how it's supposed to sound or something, you know, when you're still learning.
There was a point at which you were viewed as a bombshell.
I don't know, Steve. I don't know who was viewing me that way, because if you look at my career, I mean, my first love scene was with a monster in Swamp Thing, and I've been working for 10 years.
Maybe you were his type.
But, yeah. You know, I never saw myself that way. I never really played those kinds of roles. But because of the way I look, I guess, you know, I mean, it might have been my second husband who said, no, maybe it was at the time when we were doing Maude. And I said something about, you know, I just want people to say I'm funny. And somebody said, they're not going to be listening to your lines. They're seeing you walk down the stairs, you know. And it's like, nothing I can do about that. But I never was a Raquel Welch or anything like that. Burt put me in Cannonball Run. Again, you know, he liked me and he knew I could act it, but all people remember is the costume. And
Did you wear Daisy Dukes in that? I can't remember.
I wore a skin tight, I think mine was purple. What did they call them in those days? One piece.
Jumpsuits?
You know, it came down to here. And years later, when I was doing Argo, there's a portion of Argo which took place in the 70s, where they are doing a science fiction movie.
That's right.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And I showed up on the set, and there was one of the extras, one of the atmosphere people, wearing my jumpsuit from Cannonball Run as part of the science fiction movie. So the wardrobe has carried on. But
that won Best Picture, that movie.
It did. I was very fortunate to be involved with that one. But no, I never saw myself as a sex symbol. And truly, if you do look at my work, I wasn't playing those kinds of roles. But I'll take it. I mean,
yeah, right.
You know,
I mean, you could be called worse things.
Yes, definitely.
Do you think actors are given more freedom or less nowadays?
I suppose it depends upon the director. I know working with John when we did Escape from New York, and he had Harry Dean Stanton in one of the roles. And Harry was used to just ad-libbing and going all over the place. John, as a director in those days, I don't know more recently, but as a director in those days, you said the words on the page. So
no deviation.
No deviation, you know, unless you talk to him about it. Even with Oddities, before we started, I sat down with Tyler Savage, the director, and I said, you know, I'm not sure about the wording on this, or what are we trying to say here, you know, and we would work it out. But are actors given, it depends on the actor and it depends on the director. I mean, there are some actors, I just narrated Ethan Hawke in The Lowdown. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what was on the page, but I'm sure he brought a lot to it that wasn't on the page. So in that case, if you have an actor that is that talented and is making the right choices, then I would assume as a director you let him go. However, I did Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. Mm-hmm. And Rodney just wanted to do his act on screen, and the poor director, you know, Rodney, that's great, it's really funny. I don't think it works for the character. I don't think we can do it in this scene, you know. So I guess every instance is different.
After decades in the public eye, what keeps you grounded?
My kids. I mean, I think
The 28-year-olds?
the 28-year-olds. The older boy is 42.
Oh.
So, but yeah, I think my kids keep me grounded.
You look about 42.
I just had my 80th birthday.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
Congratulations.
I'm glad. I'm happy. Yeah.
Well, you should be.
Thank you.
It's an accomplishment.
Thank you. And you know, this is something I've never told this story before, but I heard from the casting director on Argo that one of the reasons Ben cast me in the film, Ben Affleck, is that he wanted someone who hadn't done anything to her face. Now, this was back in 2012, I guess, but there was, such a desire on so many actor and actresses' parts to fill this in and do this and do that. And
it's only gotten worse.
And I hate seeing it. I hate seeing it in the young people.
Well,
especially.
And you can tell almost automatically, it seems.
Yeah. So I've been fortunate. I mean, maybe it's because I never liked alcohol from the time I was 5 years old. My parents used to give us a shot of whiskey when we had a cold, my grandparents. I don't know. I have been, and I realize I am. And I'm grateful for that.
Well, you look great.
Thank
Whatever
you.
the secret is, you look great. What version of yourself do you understand best now?
I think I'm not quite sure. I understand myself as a mother and a friend and a sister and an aunt and a sister-in-law. I mean, I understand myself as part of a family. I do understand that.
You were going to say earlier something, and I interrupted you, something about your twins and your 43-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
What were you going to say?
They keep me grounded.
Oh.
And they keep me current. Although, watching the Grammys the other night, it was like, okay, I know that one, but,
Ain't it the truth?
Yeah.
I thought to myself while I was watching it, I'm glad I'm not covering this. I don't know any of these people.
But you know what? They don't know our people
Yeah,
either.
true.
They don't know our people either.
It goes both ways, huh? One hand washes the other.
Yeah.
Although I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the show. I thought it was a good show.
Yeah.
And with Bad Bunny coming up so much,
yes,
glad I got a chance to see what he's like.
Yes. And I was impacted by Jelly Roll's story because my kids I knew the backstory, he was on the streets and homeless and drugs and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So to see that kind of...
And at one time he was huge from what I understand.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, his videos, you can see it in his videos. So that was...
I'm just not wild about all the tattoos. But that's my age.
Yeah. Listen, my parents wouldn't, my mother, I've never had pierced ears even. We weren't allowed to have pierced ears, and I've never pierced, I don't wear jewelry that much, so. But I have one boy who went the tattoo route.
Oh.
And my older son lives in Tokyo, so when we go to visit, the tattooed boy can't even go to you can't go to a spa there. They don't call them spas, the soaking baths, They don't allow tattoos because it's associated with the Yakuza.
Oh.
Historically.
Yeah.
So you either got to cover them up if you're going into a bath or something.
Or have them removed.
Or have them removed.
Is it true that at one point before you got a job on Broadway, you auditioned to be a stripper?
No, I didn't audition to be a stripper. When I first moved to New York, I needed to work at night so I could make the rounds during the day and get auditions and things like that. And I took a job as a cocktail waitress, barmaid, at a place called Maddie's Mardi Gras. It was it had been a clip joint, that whatever that was. I had just heard the word at the time, but it was run by the mafia. Matty was Matty the horse, Matty Iannello. He was I think he was one of the heads of the five families, or he took over or something. But I didn't know any of that at the time. But Matty had a stage in this. It was a restaurant, but across from the bar there was a stage, and he had motorized mannequins on the stage looked like they were playing the drums and playing the piano, and he had a jukebox. But people would come in thinking there was a live band, and order their drink and turn around, and they were getting pissed off because it wasn't a live band, it was a jukebox. So Matty told the cocktail waitresses, who were dressed, I had on, black tights and a long sleeve black leotard and all of that, get up and dance. So we started dancing. And I have been told, I don't know if it's true, but one of the other girls from that time period wrote a book saying that was sort of the beginning of go-go dancing. And so I left Maddie's when they went, I think they were going topless. By that time I had a union card and I was doing theater, but no, not a stripper, but a go-go dancer.
Oh, okay. If you could sit across from yourself on opening night of your first major hit role, what would you tell yourself?
Well, that would have been Grease, I guess.
What role did you play in Grease?
I played
again?
Rizzo.
Rizzo. Good meaty role.
Yes. Well, two things come to mind. One is ask for what you want. They can always say no, but if you don't ask,
you don't get.
And I suppose at that time I would have said, it's okay to be a star. People will say, because as a younger person, I never wanted anyone to think that I thought well of myself. That didn't seem to be a nice thing to do. And also I think there was an element of, if I tell people I really want to be successful and it doesn't happen, then how humiliating will that be? So, you just didn't
Jinx
ask,
it,
you
yeah.
didn't go for it. So that's one thing I would say. And, one thing comes up in terms of auditions. They don't know what they want. They want you to come in and give them what they want. So don't try and, it should be like this or it should be like this. Think about, if they hired me, this is the way I do the role. So go in and do that with your audition. Do a little. Don't do it because you're trying to get the job. Do it because it's an opportunity to show your chops, to work and act.
The Batman series. You do voices for that?
I played Catwoman in Batman the Animated Series, which was originally released in the 90s. It has since had a huge resurgence. They released, I think all 5 seasons or 6 seasons on DVD. The John Glover and Kevin Conroy played Batman. We had Mark Hamill. We had James Earl Jones. It was Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. played Arthur in the original, and it was a wonderful, wonderful job that still keeps coming back to me all the time. I went on and did Batman Arkham Asylum, which was one of the video games. I've done a lot of video games and voiceovers, but in the voiceover world, I am known for Catwoman in Batman the Animated Series.
And there was another series that you worked on, Carnivàle. What was the character you played?
Ruthie, the snake dancer.
Uh-huh.
That was, I've loved doing The Fog, Escape from New York, all of those things. But Carnivàle for HBO was my all-time favorite job. I think she was an incredible character. I mean, I was 50, I think, or 51. I can't remember when we did it. And here is this woman who dances with snakes on screen for a living, and ends up having a love affair, a relationship with a 26-year-old boy. And for a woman my age, those kinds of roles don't come along. You know, you're either the judge or you're the lawyer or, I don't know, the nurse or something. And here was Ruthie, and it was a fantastic cast. Amy Madigan, Clancy Brown, Nick Stahl, Clea Duvall, Tim DeKay from White Collar. We just had, it was remarkable. It was an expensive show to produce because it took place in the 30s, in the Dust Bowl. And at the end of our second season, they pulled the plug. I think because it was such an expensive show to produce, and HBO didn't quite get it. It was the precursor to so many other shows that have come on that were metaphysical in their approach, or even Lost, I think. It was, it's a wonderful show. It's on, I mean, you can find it on HBO Max probably, but I love that show.
Adrienne, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed this talk.
Thank you.
And you look great.
Oh, thanks very much. Okay.
And I enjoyed you regularly on Maude all the time.
Good.
That was a regular.
You were a baby.
I was not a baby. Bless you, but I was not a baby. No.
Okay. Thank you.
Still Here Hollywood is a production of the Still Here Network. All things technical run by Justin Zangerly. Theme music by Brian Sanishin. And executive producer is Jim Lichtenstein.